Bonjour, Kinamagi and Nene Ireland Indigenikas, and welcome to this production of the My Math Network. Today's lesson, the Chapter 4 test review. I begin this test review by noting that there isn't going to be a Google form to go with this today. What's going to be expected is for you to use the paper version to do several questions and then be able to check with me for any feedback. We will be presenting this material also live during class, but I wanted to highlight for you some of the steps of division. That'll be the key element today. And then I will tell you what you should do during the practice pages. Tomorrow's session will be the test. So I'm going to get a new share here. And I'm going to do it with a whiteboard. Our steps for division are divide, multiply, subtract, compare, bring down. Is it against the rules for you to write these down on your paper once I give it to you, or to have it noted by you? No, it's really not. These are things that would be present in the classroom if we were actually inside of it. But it's good to remember these because this is part of the standard algorithm. So I'm going to pick a two-digit number. I'm just picking random numbers. I'm going to be completely honest with you. So we got to go through our steps. Just for a review of vocabulary, the number that's the group being divided is the dividend. This is the divisor. The answer is the quotient, and the remainder is the numbers left over that didn't fit into a whole group. One of the things we can do is compatible numbers. Like we would say, okay, this is close to 6,000. This is close to 20. So maybe we have an answer of around 300. So maybe we start with a 3. We may also round this closer to 6,000, this closer to 20, and we'd go the same way. Remember that we did have to adjust quotients. And let's say for a moment that I did the 3. I'm going to tell you that this is going to require us to adjust the quotient. So I put a 3 here because 20, and it goes into 60 about 3 times. And if I did that automatically, I'd be like, I should catch that, but let's see. 3 times 3 is 9. 3 times 2 is 6. I suddenly have a digit here that is a bit larger than the numbers being subtracted. At that point, I need to adjust my quotient. So let's get my eraser. And we had a 3. So let's go ahead and try a 2 because this was too large. 3 was too big. Let's go 2. 2 times 3 is 6. And 2 times 2 is 4. But say to yourself, by the way, on the previous step, if you were like, Mr. Ireland, this is bigger than 20, and that's not quite 60 and started at 2, would that be wrong? No, but I wanted to give you a visual of having to adjust your quotient. So now we've just divided 23 into 59. Notice we did not go into 5973. We multiplied 23 times 2. And if you're not sure what to multiply, it's whatever digit we just wrote up there times the divisor. So now we subtract. And we write the answer to that right below as if this was a subtraction problem without anything else around it. 9 minus 6 is 3. 5 minus 4 is 1. We have 13 left over. Our next step is to compare. Is 13 less than 23? In fact, it is. So now we bring down. And when we bring down, we bring out the next digit, which is a 7 in this case, from the top. So I put a 7 right next to the 13 that was the difference in my subtraction problem. So now I have 137, because what this stands for, this was in the hundreds place, this was 1300, this was 7 tens, or this is yeah, close. So now we have 137 tens. So now we're in the tens place. And I start back up here at the divide. Just make sure though your 7 is always right next to the subtraction answer on the previous step. We don't want the 7 down here. I do encourage you to put these lines in here to help kind of facilitate your figuring. It makes it easier for you to say, oh, this was a subtraction step. So now let's say 23 into 137. This is close to 220, and this is close to 14. So a 7, I could try a 7 because those are compatible numbers here, and round would work as a rounded estimate. But I also stop and say, well, 7 times 2 is 14, and that's going to be just slightly too big. So I'm in my head, I'm already going to adjust that quotient to a 6. I could have gone 7 down the steps. I would have had a number that was too big, and I would have had to go backwards. And that's okay. So 6 times 3 is 18. 6 times 2 is 12, plus 1 is 13. How are we sitting on this one? Does it work? No, it still won't work, because you can't subtract 138 from 137 and keep it positive. So now I'm going to actually have to go back and get my eraser. There we go. There. So now let's try a 5. 5 times 3 is 15. 5 times 2 is 10, plus 1 is 11. Now that's my multiply step, 23 times 5. Now I subtract, and I get a 2 and a 2. 22. I compare. Is 22 less than 23? It is. So now I bring down the 3, and I have 223. I look at this, and 23 times 10 is 230, which is only a little bit bigger. So I'm immediately going to choose a 9. 9 times 3 is 27. Put a 7, I regroup the 2. 9 times 2 is 18, plus 2 is 20. I subtract, and I get 16. And how did I get 16 from this? I could borrow or regroup. So now I have 13 minus 7 is 6, and 1 minus 0 is 1. I can compare. 16 is less than 23. We're good. There's nothing to bring down. So now I can go remainder 16. It's very important that you follow the steps. We placed our first digit. We ended up adjusting quotients. If you can follow these steps, you'll be sitting in a decent way. Let's go back to our text here and look at what you're going to be doing. On the first page, which is page 291 of your packet, I want you to make sure you know what these vocabulary are. And a lot of them we've already mentioned during the course of this, minus having to decide whether you want to, which is compatible numbers and which is round. Go ahead and write those in there. Then on each of these sections, I want you to do one problem here. So if there's 3 problems, I want you to do 1. Basically 1 problem from each row on this page. Then on the next page, I want you to make sure you do the even. So do 22, 24, and 26. That way we'll get you a fair amount of practice. And if there's any questions, you should reach out to me at mireland@psychchipschool.net. I'd be happy to show you a little bit more. We will have gone a little further in depth in class because we will have student questions and answers right there. I hope you are feeling confident. If you're stuck and you're afraid to ask, there's great resources such as Khan Academy that you're more than welcome to check out. You could Google Khan Academy and long division, Khan Academy and compatible numbers, Khan Academy and story prompts. All of those things will bring you to videos that will give you a chance to look into it. I encourage you to reach out to me, but if it's 10:30 at night and you just can't sleep because you're stuck on this in your mind and this is what you need to do, that's okay. Hope you all have a mental Gizagat, and we'll be back tomorrow with the test. Mama P.